Hi, I'm Stephanie and let's talk books. So today I am going to be doing an end of the year book tag as the end of the year is rapidly approaching. We are almost to December and we will be in the 20s before we know it. So let's go ahead and get started with the tag. The first question is, are there any books you need to finish before the end of the year? And the answer to that question is yes. I started the Words of Radiance for the Stormlight Archive read-through, and we are supposed to have this book done by the end of the month. And I'm only about a quarter of the way through. So I got a lot of catching up to do. I ended up doing quite a bit of traveling this month, so I wasn't able to make as much progress on this book as I was hoping, but I do want to catch up with the read-along. Hopefully I'll get a nice chunk of this book done over Thanksgiving break. I am also still working on my Wheel of Time read-through. I am currently on book 9. I would love to finish that one, which I should be able to because I'm just really blowing through that one. But I also have the prequel New Spring from the library, so I would also like to get this book done by the end of the year, make a little bit more progress on the series. And kind of the last dangling thread I want to finish before the end of the year is the Reckoner series, Firefight, and Calamity. I was hoping to get to these on audiobook this month. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I might have to switch over to physical book, but I would like to finish my reread of this series before the end of the year. The next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? I don't tend to read seasonally. I think part of that is the fact that I live in Florida, so we have 2 seasons. We have deathly hot, and we have not quite deathly hot. So the weather doesn't tend to get me in the mood to read certain things because we have pretty consistent weather throughout the year. So it doesn't really feel like fall out right now. It certainly doesn't feel like we're almost to Christmas. So I don't have anything in particular mood ready. I do mood drink tea. So I have already gone through all of my apple and pumpkin tea, and I'm on to my Christmas kind of wintry flavored teas. But I don't really do that with books. Next question, are there any new releases you're still waiting for? There have been quite a few that have come out in November that I'm super psyched for, but there's one more that I'm really excited for. So the sequel to Skyward, which is called Starsight, that will have released yesterday as you are watching this video. I will be currently waiting for my copy to make its way to me through the U.S. Postal Service because of the holiday, which is the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday this week. I have fingers crossed that it will get to me this week. You never know with the post office system here and whether there'll be any delays from the holiday, but I am super excited about this book coming out. Moving on, the next question is, what are 3 books you are hoping to read before the end of the year? So I'll go ahead and talk about some books I haven't talked about. The first one is The Toll, which is the 3rd book in the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. I am currently on the hold list for that one at the library, so we have quite a few copies that have come into the library system, so hopefully I will get that book before the end of the year and have time to finish it because I would love to have that series wrapped up this year. Another series that I would like to get caught up on is the Thrawn series by Timothy Zahn. This is the 2nd book, but I would love to pick up the 3rd book to read at the end of the year. I read the first 2 Thrawn books over Christmas break last year, so I thought it'd be really fitting to put the 3rd book in my December TBR for this year. And lastly, I would love to stay caught up with the Stormlight read-along and get to finish Oathbringer before the end of the year. I am doing the annotated read-through, so depending on how long that takes me, I might not be able to get through this chunker before the end of the year, but I would love to at least get started my annotated read-through of Oathbringer. This is my favorite series, so it won't be hard for me to pick it up. So up next, they want to know, are there any books that you think could still surprise you and end up being your favorite book of the year? I will say maybe. My current favorite book from this year is The Age of Legend by Michael J. Sullivan. I absolutely love this book. This series was a surprise to me. I have enjoyed just devouring through it over the last 2 years, and I'm really excited that the next book in the series is set to come out early 2020. I just thought this was such a great installment that I absolutely loved it. So I don't know that there's any adult books that could bump this one out of my favorite adult read of the year. But I am open to having Starsight, the sequel to Skyward, come out on top of my favorite YA of the year. Anything Brandon Sanderson could possibly be at the very top of my favorite thing of the year. So I don't know that I would call it a surprise if Starsight ended up being my favorite YA read of the year, but it's definitely something that could bump out the current top spot. Alright, lastly, let's talk about 2020. The last question asked, have you started making any reading plans for 2020? And I have been pondering. So last year in 2018, I set out to read just about everything that Brandon Sanderson had ever published, and I made it to get through pretty much everything. I didn't make it to the Wheel of Time books. I set those aside for this year to read through the Wheel of Time. There were a couple of things that he has that are either out of print or very difficult to find, and I also only got through the first of the, at that point in time, 2 White Sand books because my library only had the first graphic novel. They didn't have the second one, but I read almost everything else that had been published in print form. This year my goal is the Wheel of Time. I am currently on book 9 out of 14 plus a prequel, so I will not be finishing that this year, but I have started thinking about what big epic fantasy series that I want to read for 2020. So I have decided to read the Game of Thrones. I know this isn't the first book, but it's the only one I have a physical copy of. I am not well versed in the grimdark genre. It's not something I've really gotten into, so I may read the first one and decide it's not for me, but currently I would like to read through the entirety of the published Game of Thrones books. They are a nice chunky series, but it's significantly shorter than the Wheel of Time, so hopefully I will be able to finish that series as well as make it through the Song of Ice and Fire. Another series that is high on the list is the Crown of Stars series by Kate Elliott. This is one that I have wanted to read forever, and I just have never managed to pick it up. So I have quite a few of these in a physical copy now, and I really want to make this series a priority for 2020 as well. Other than that, I do have a couple of other things that I have cooking kind of in the back of my brain as ideas for 2020, but I will kind of keep those under wraps for right now. But I have been thinking about stuff, and I'm very excited to see what new favorites I read next year. So that's a wrap for this tag. Let me know down in the comments section what your favorite read of 2019 has been so far and what you are most anticipated in reading for 2020. Till next time, happy reading.